Welcome back to the channel, my friends. It's so nice to see you guys after a few days off of lives. Today, we are diving into Blake Lively's new court documents. And, she doesn't need evidence. I don't know. It's wild. It might get your blood pressure up. So make sure you're sitting down. You took your blood pressure meds if you take them. Oh, guys, Blakey. When is this going to be done? When is this going to be done? We need to be done. How are you guys doing? It's so nice to see you guys today. We are going to be diving into court documents. We're going to be keeping the live on track to about an hour. Thank you guys, because it is my birthday. And so we're going to keep it to an hour. But I figured I was going to go through the documents anyway. I haven't gone through them yet. So I might as well go through them with you guys on my birthday. Why not? But before we do that, I wanted to share our little farm animal sanctuary with you guys and a couple of stories from the farm animal sanctuary. Hello, Bruce. Thank you for joining us this morning. It's so nice to see you. Because we're holding a little bit of a fundraiser over the next couple of weeks for the farm animal sanctuary. If you don't know, Blake Lively, well, we're assuming Blake Lively and her bots, Blakey bots, have taken down the account. Basically, what happened is just the other day we did the I'm not going to say the word. I'm afraid to say the word. We did the sham lawsuit video, and my YouTube, I was in the back end of my YouTube, and all of a sudden like flashes, right? So there's something that happened, and then all of a sudden I get a notice saying there's suspicious activity on my account. And my YouTube has to be cleaned up to protect you guys, to protect the community from hacked and suspicious accounts. So it looks like likely my account got mass reported for the sham lawsuit. Don't even want to say the word, but we all know, one of those types of cars that you have you can fit lots of kids in. That one, yeah. I think it got mass reported. So anyway, I uploaded a video later on Charlie Kirk, which that is always something like that. And I understand is always walking the line. You got to walk a very thin line and be very careful with a video like that. But when your account is already flagged, you can trip wires very easily. So anyway, that one got demonetized. And if you've been here for a while, you know what this channel is. Codename Voldemort. I love you guys. If you guys have been around for a while, you know that all the YouTube income goes directly to our animals and our farm animal sanctuary. So I want to share a couple behind the scenes pictures and videos of them. I shared them with the membership a couple weeks ago, or the members on a members only live, but I want to share it with you guys here because everything from this channel goes to them. Everything I make here goes back into them. Their hay, their grain, their shavings. We're going into winter, so it's always a lot of extra expenses on the farm, getting everyone ready for winter, getting new blankets for everyone, especially the older animals. Fernie, that you guys see on the goat cam all the time, she has arthritis, so she gets bundled up in the winter. And my last video, regardless of getting, someone must have shared that video, but it was the Charlie Kirk one that was just like flatlined. Someone must have shared it because all of a sudden it spiked up. But despite getting 11,000 views, I got $4. When my videos tend to get, like, depending on the video, branding and marketing specific videos tend to have. So for those of you that are in my YouTube course, I'm going to teach you all about this actually. So I have a beginner YouTube course. I should have grabbed you guys the link for that one. If one of the mods have the link for that one, certain videos will get a higher ad revenue, right? So there's certain niches that advertisers will pay more for. So my more strictly branding and marketing videos tend to get $200 to $300 in ad revenue for under 10K views. So $4 on a video was, a bag of grain is like $35. So, there's that. But I wanted to just give you guys a little bit of behind the scenes before we get into the court documents. Let me close down all this is my personal account. Everyone that's sending me DMs and everything. Oh my gosh. I wish it didn't automatically pop up. Thank you so much, Mia. $10 to help the animals. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. It all goes right back in. it's just so frustrating that this is something else I had spoken about. There's not there's censorship everywhere, right? Like whether it's legacy media pushing a certain narrative or content creators being silenced, it's everywhere and it really just sucks. So I thought I'd introduce you guys to Bella and Luna. So these are the winter type blankets that they get, all the horses get in the winter. Like I said, some of the goats that are a little bit older. Thank you guys. Thank you. I appreciate it. We'll get winter blankets. The horses do best out 24/7, although we have stalls, so we like to make sure everyone has lots of blankets in the winter. But Bella actually came. So Luna here, I met her, oh my goodness, I'd say 12 years ago now. She's a long story, but for those on the replay, you can skip past this if you don't care. But for those that are interested in the farm animal sanctuary and some of the animals we have here, this might be really cool for you. So Luna here, the big horse, I had found her, I think it's about 12 years ago now. A friend of mine she used to own one of the biggest vitamin companies in the world, is big into animal rescue. And she reached out to me. We were friends through my business partner for my personal training studio. And my business partner had said, like, Ashley knows horses. She grew up with them. And there was this horse, Luna, her name was Sweet Pea originally, that was being seized by the SPCA. And they had nowhere for her to go. So I said, like, I can take her as long as she doesn't have behavioral issues, because I board. And I don't know if it's a long-term solution. At the time, I wasn't making a lot of money to have a horse at the time and board out a horse. But what we ended up doing was we brought Luna in. She ended up having a lot of behavioral issues. Like, I'm talking about a lot of behavioral issues. And it became very dangerous for staff to handle her at the farm that we were boarding at. She ended up kicking me in the chest. She got scared. She got overwhelmed, and she had spun around and kicked me in the chest. And what ended up happening is she had essentially, what we were told is, because of the liability now to have her boarded out, where essentially youth and teens were handling her, there were two options. Either she essentially goes to a cowboy, which when someone says go to a cowboy, it's like not a nice way to treat them. I mean, keep in mind, this was a horse that was removed from extreme abuse. Like, extreme abuse. To have an animal removed in Canada is extreme abuse. So she's removed. I'm like, I will not do a cowboy. That's just not on. I am not having this horse beat in a submission. And the other option was that she essentially go to a sanctuary. And I actually might be able to find, what's it called? That's what it was. I'm going to tell you guys a story. And again, on the replay, if you don't care about the animals, yeah, there it is. So we end up finding a sanctuary for her to go. So this is the big horse in the back, Luna. And it was supposed to be like a forever home. It seemed to be a really great place. And we didn't have a farm at that point. We just got the farm about 2.5 years ago. It was a long time dream for me to buy my own farm to save animals on. And so we got this farm animal sanctuary that stepped up, seemed like the best option. We sent her there. And within, I don't know, days, I was like, something isn't right. They weren't following medical advice. They weren't listening to me. I started posting on social media that they weren't following medical advice from the vets that we had see Luna. She has something called Heaves. It's like asthma, but for horses. They weren't listening to anything I said. They started slandering me. They blocked me, blocked everyone that supported Luna on social media. And a couple years later, I get tagged in this just to show you guys, like, this shit's legit. Where am I on here? I'm here somewhere. I am in this picture. So I was at that event. But a couple years later, I get a message and someone's like, have you heard that sanctuary that Luna's at is being investigated by the SPCA? And I was like, what are you talking about? So anyway, the place that she had gone was being investigated by the SPCA. You can't even make this up. This poor horse. Long story short, they wouldn't let me help to find her a suitable position, a suitable place. They were convinced that they were doing the right thing. She ended up being removed from that place and going to another sanctuary. I reached out to that sanctuary, which is more of like a rehoming rescue, if you will. They don't really have long-term residents, but they'll keep them if they have to. So she gets moved to this other one. I reach out and I'm like, oh my goodness, that's like a horse that's close to my heart. I've been following her all these years. Long story short, she goes there. We end up getting this farm a couple years ago, 2.5 years ago. I reach out to the second rescue she had gone to, and I was like, look, do you remember me? Are you still looking for a home for Luna? We finally have a farm. I can take her. She can have her forever home. She can stay here. So they were like, yes, of course, come get her. So within days, Luna came back here and we got her a little pony as her little emotional support pony. So Bella is also a rescue. She was at another rehoming rescue and they reached out to us because they said, we can't find a home for this pony. We can't keep them here. Like, we're just rehoming. We don't keep them long term. Every home that they try to send Bella to, she would break down the fencing and run away, or she was like evil to children. So they're like, we don't know what to do with this pony. Can you take her? So anyway, long story short, that's how Bella and Luna became friends and moved into the farm. They're both rescues. They're lying down. So this is kind of like our pen where everyone gets to meet everyone else. But there's some cute pictures of Bella. She was like a little demon pony, though, let me tell you, in the beginning. A little demon pony. So everyone gets blankets. Once rain season comes, any ripped blankets have to be replaced. So yes, Blake Lively hitting my account is a huge hit to the account. Me getting $4 because my videos are limited ads is a huge hit. $4 doesn't do anything. These blankets are ranging from like $200 up. Some of the nicer ones that are harder to rip are about $400. But yeah, this is Luna. Luna has a lot of fear still. That's them running in the backfield for the first time. The last rescue Luna was at, she was in a big herd and was being picked on. So she was just like, it was just such a relief for her to come here and have her own space. So that's her and Bella running. I think this is a video. Oh yeah, that's their first time out. Good girl. Luna's like, I don't care to run. I just want food. But yeah, so those are the horses, the two main horses that we've rescued over the years here. And we have goats and sheep as well that are part of the rescue. But if you're ever wondering what donations through the PayPal go to, what super chats go to, that's what it goes to. Winter is such an expensive time. So you're going to get mud season, right? So once it starts raining a lot and it's cold, the horses, it's tough for them to be out in that. So everyone gets their blankets. Some of the horses get blankets all the way up to their ears because they get chilled. They have arthritis. And then we're going to get the older goats blankets this year as well. But anyway, this is also being used today as just a fundraiser and raising awareness for some of the animals that we've rescued. I'll show you guys some of the original videos. Okay, I have to show you this one. Okay, so for those that watch the Misfit Herds TV, which is our goat cam. So you know the two white goats, other than Fernie, but the two boy goats, this is them. I showed up. I had nothing to put them in. I show up with this. They were from a commercial dairy farm and they were being what's called culled because, well, boys are useless, right? So they either find a home when they're babies or they get grown out and sold for meat. So I show up with this little bin for them. They moved into our back room. So this was them in our back room. So these are the big white goats that you see on the video now when we first got them. Yeah, we had like literally fencing in our back room. Little goats are prone to, yep, that's them climbing on our couch. They're so cute though. So we rescue goats as well. And I'll see if I have any videos of Sandy and Fernie when they first came as well. You can see them now on the farm feed, on Misfit Herds farm feed. I just thought it'd be cool to show you guys some of the original videos of them when they first came. Okay, so funny story about these guys. I promise we'll get into the Cort dogs. So the two black and white goats, they fit into a dog carrier when we rescued them. That's how tiny they were. That's Fernie. So see, she has a purple C on her bum. Both of them do, but this is Sandy here, who you guys can see them every day on Misfit Herds TV. Sandy has a C as well. It's just harder to see. So what they do is for Sandy, the black goat, she was being culled because her milk production dropped. She was only 2 years old. So her options were basically find a farm like ours, or she would be shipped for meat. And then Fernie was being called because her teats weren't the right shape to make it good for being a production farm. But yeah, these are some pictures of them in the stables when they first came in. Fernie's she used to watch me do stalls all the time. But they didn't even know what to do. These are the little guy, that's Mercury. They didn't even know what to do going outside because they had not been outside. They had just, and then Fernie got really, really sick, unfortunately. So these are the blankets we get the goats in the winter. She got really, really sick. But then through a lot of medical attention, she came back. Yeah, and that was her afterwards, how happy she was after she got healthy again. But anyway, that's where everything goes to, is helping the animals. And my big goal, honestly, is to be able to afford a property that's like 100 acres. Not even that I would have to live there, but just a big property that I could even have staff there that take care of animals and allow us to do more good, because we are limited where we are. We have about just over 5 acres where we are now. So we are limited here. Let me see if I have. Oh my goodness. Where's the videos? I have videos of Freddie and Mercury in the back. They came to us sick, but I don't know what album. I have so many albums it's in. But anyway, that's what we do here. We help animals, and it's something I'm really passionate about. So all donations go to that and doing more good work for the animals. All right. With that, and that's also what Blake Lively causes problems with. Blake Lively and her allegedly Blake Lively seems like Blake Lively, because it was after I talked about cars and vans, that I had issues with my account. This is what she impacts, right? Like $4 for a video that I spend an hour and a half researching, recording, editing. So it's like 3 hours of work is just not sustainable. But that's what they do to accounts. That's what they do. Andrea, welcome to the membership. Oh my goodness. It's so exciting. Maria, thank you so much for the support of the animals. I really appreciate that. It's so frustrating when Blake does what Blake does. Okay. Let's dive into, oh my gosh, where do we even start? Is this the one? I had it all set to go, and then yeah, defendant Blake Lively's reply and support a motion for attorney's fees, treble damages, and punitive damages under California Civil Code 47.1. So the crazy thing for me is, imagine the amount of good these people could do with all the money that, like, this is what I was just thinking about today. The amount of good these people could do with all that money that they're wasting on attorney's fees. Like, Blake, just give it up. They could use his money for good in the world. They could give back. They could help animals, help children, help people. Your goat should kick Blake in her fake butt. They probably would. It's funny because I was doing a video yesterday and I was talking about Blake, and my parrot was like freaking out. I swear they just understand energy. So we'll go through all the new filings together, my friends. Yes, please like the stream. That also does help the channel as well. In 2017, I had 12 subscribers. I was up to 92 cents in a week. Terrible. They kept your money. Yeah. I'm a fucking delight. T-shirt and mug. That is a great idea. That's a great idea. The hat over there. That is a great idea, putting it on a t-shirt and a mug. I will do that. That one's in honor of our Megosophagus dog, Julia. We created that hat for her, which is so funny, and a story for another day for those who are new. If you've been here for a while, you've heard it. But I can do that. I can make that happen. All right, Blakey, everyone, just hunker down, my friends. Hunker down. The Wayfair parties brought a meritless defamation action in New York under California law using California-based attorneys representing a California company based in large part on a complaint Miss Lively filed with the California Civil Rights Department, CRD. The court dismissed the Wayfair parties' lawsuit against Miss Lively, including their defamation claim and every other claim they alleged. They now seek to repudiate their invocation of California law to avoid the consequences of their failed litigation strategy. They advanced 3 arguments for why the court cannot or should not rule on Miss Lively's motion, all of which fail. Now, I was watching right before I came on, I was watching Omar and Lauren, and Omar had said that apparently that is true, that Wayfair had invoked California. But I'm going to be honest, I'm not a lawyer, guys. I'm in branding, marketing, and PR. Like, I am not a lawyer. I have no idea what that means in terms of how it applies to her claims. But I just want to make sure that was clear, that apparently they had been the ones that invoked that. A bucket sticker so I can put on my bucket. bucket. That's so good. Okay, I really like that. So you guys know I always say, like, throw it in the fucking bucket if you don't want to listen, if you don't care, if it doesn't suit you. So that's actually very clever. And Leo and Haley got you guys with the links to support the farm animal sanctuary. Thank you so much, guys, for always helping with the animals. At the end of the day, like, it's for those that are building YouTube channels or businesses online, this is something I'm going to talk about in the beginner YouTube roadmap, is you always have to look at what's working, what's not, what can I do differently next time. And unfortunately, I know people love my deep dives, but I like $4 for 3 hours of work is not something that I can maintain at this time. So I do have to look at how do I restructure things, which sucks because I love being able to do those deep dives for everyone. I love being able to expose systems. But even on YouTube, there isn't truly, it's a company, it's a corporation. It's not truly free speech in many ways, which sucks. All right, first, the Wayfair party suggests that this court cannot rule on Ms. Lively's motion because it presents itself a first impression under Section 47.1, including ill-defined constitutional concerns and conflicts. It goes without saying that this court has the authority to rule on matters of first impression, including Ms. Lively's motion, especially when, as here, the Wayfair party's own claims and litigation conduct before this court have put Section 47.1 at issue. Again, like, I don't know. And if there's a lawyer in the chat, let me know. Hell if I know. Omar would be a better person to, he said he was, when I was watching their stream together, he was going to look into it again, sit with it and have a better approach or look at it, a better thought process on it. But I don't understand how, even if the Wayfair parties had done that over on their claims, I don't understand how it automatically applies to Blake's. I'm not sure. Rumble pays a lot better than YouTube. Yes, I have looked at that. But have you guys ever looked at the qualification guidelines? Like, I have to stream live over there, and their qualification guidelines are crazy. And for someone that, I mean, most days I have difficulty. There's days where I literally wash my hair in the sink. Let's just put that, how busy I am. CJ, hello, CJ. Thank you, my friend. It's so nice to see you. I meant to message you yesterday to say hi and see how you're doing, and then I totally forgot. Because again, crazy schedule. So yeah, I don't know how this works with them having brought it up, but I don't understand how Blake can just bring it over to hers. Nor do the Wayfair party's free speech arguments under the Noor-Pennington Doctrine and California's litigation privilege change this, as the Second Circuit has not decided whether Noor-Pennington even extends to non-commercial litigation. All right. Second, the Wayfair party's argument that Section 47.1 does not apply extraterritorially, where Miss Lively is not a California resident and the film was shot outside of California, is similarly meritless. None of the Wayfair party's case law addresses application of a state's law when the party resisting application itself brought claims under the state's law. But again, that's a different lawsuit. I don't know. We'll pull up Not Actually Golden and Little Girl Attorney afterwards to see what they have to say. Even if they did not invite application of 47.1 upon themselves, which they did, there exists a sufficient nexus between California and Wayfair parties' retaliatory defamation action based on Miss Lively's California CRD complaint. The only conduct relevant here to justify this application. I still don't understand how it's relevant. I don't know. Third, the Wayfair parties argue that the court cannot apply Section 47.1 without factual findings that Miss Lively acted without malice and had a reasonable basis to make her complaints about harassment and retaliation. In effect, the Wayfair parties argue that the court cannot conclude that Miss Lively is the prevailing defendant in the defamation action, which has now been dismissed with prejudice or abandoned in its entirety. Instead, they argue Miss Lively must endure a jury trial to prove that she's already prevailed. But she just wants her money now, basically. I wonder, this is my theory. Let me know what you guys think in the chat. Thank you for all the birthday wishes, my friends. You guys are the best. Originally I wasn't going to go live today. And then I'm like, what better way to spend my morning? And I had to work today anyway on client stuff than with you guys. So let me know what you guys think. I kind of think she's trying to set it up to win this and then drop everything or attempt to drop everything. Because she could get a win here. And, I won under 47.1. I kind of wonder if she's trying to set up or tee up something like that. Yeah, Hens Homestead. You think the same? Absolutely what she's doing. I think so. I think she's teeing it up to win this and then just be like, it's just too much for me. Because why else would you want this now? Like, she wants her money now. Basically, she's like, no, I want my money now, period. End of story. I deserve it. I shouldn't have to go to a jury trial. Because then she can, not that we will buy it. Oh, really? Let me just see. That's exactly what the Tilted Lawyer and Lauren talked about too. Amazing. I need to watch the whole episode. I guess we're all on the same thought process then. Yeah, and I know she can't drop it. I missed the chat. Yeah, she has to ask. I just don't know. I don't know if it's tough. It's tough because I don't know how his team and the judge would react to that. Like, do you risk the bad PR and drag her to court regardless? Because then she's likely going to run with a PR strategy of like, look at everyone dragging me to court. I'm a victim. I even got protection under this Me Too law. The judges agreed I'm a victim. I've got treble damages because I'm a victim. And look what they're doing. They are dragging a victim to court by her hair. And I don't know. I'm not saying they wouldn't. I would support them in that. But I do feel her team, if that is what her team is teeing up, that they'd be ready for, yes, a psychotic PR strategy that would just be like, you thought we went hard on abusers playbook before? Hold my morning coffee because you ain't seen nothing yet. I wouldn't put it past her at all. I would not put it past her. Oh my God, of course they call it a perverse twist. Ugh. And a perverse twist, the Wayfair parties attempt to justify the exact type of protracted litigation the statute was designed to curb by arguing that Miss Lively's affirmative claims with which the Wayfair parties' separate lawsuit had previously been consolidated present the same factual issues as her motion under 47.1 and thus must be decided together to avoid inconsistent rulings. This is wrong. Miss Lively can do whatever she wants. She has authorship. No, they didn't say that. They said this is wrong. Miss Lively's claims do not necessitate Miss Lively to prove that she acted without malice. She's like, whatever. So what? I acted with malice. I could do whatever I want. Just, you can't sue over hurt feelings. It's just wild to me. I don't have to prove. And again, I'm not a lawyer, so I can rant on this from just, as Lauren calls it, court of random opinion perspective. It's just wild to me. It does not require me to show that I acted without malice. I could have. Has nothing to do with this. Leo's always got my back. It's like I didn't act with malicious intent, but even if I did, it doesn't matter. Yeah, it's basically what she's saying. Wild. Finally, the Wayfair party. Can you imagine working with this woman on a movie? Oh my God. And then being wrapped up with litigation with her for years afterwards. I would be bald from stress. My hair, I shed like a dog when I'm stressed. I would be completely bald from stress. I'd be able to sport some really cool wigs though. So there'd also be that. But Finally, the Wayfair parties argue that Miss Lively has not established a basis upon which the court can calculate treble damages and cannot establish her right to punitive damages absent a factual finding from a jury. Not so, because she is Blake Lively. Miss Lively has already requested a schedule to introduce evidence of her actual damages, which will be established by the close of expert discovery on November 14th, 2025, and which the court can then treble. I want to know how she is separating her own damages that she did to her own business. This is what I want to know. How do you separate your own damages for what you did to your own business versus this alleged smear campaign? We all know there wasn't one. I can't find one. I can find fingerprints on Jed Wallace for other alleged smear campaigns. I can't find one for him with Blake Lively. So there's alleged smear campaign. Genuinely, how do you separate? You acted like a fool, a tone-deaf fool in marketing. You're talking about Britney Spears' dress, which from the beginning was tone-deaf. As soon as I saw her in Britney Spears' dress, I'm like, girl, no one should try and recreate the GOAT Britney Spears looks, first of all. Just don't. But one, you're showing up in Britney Spears' dress. And at the time, guys, I didn't know who Justin was. I only knew Blake as Ryan's wife. I didn't know what In Ends With Us was. I didn't follow Colleen Hoover. But I saw this clip afterwards of her promoting the movie by promoting Britney Spears' dress. I'm like, how tone deaf is it that you're taking the attention off a DV movie to tell us why you care about this dress? Disgusting. So how do you separate all of this? That's what I want to know, because girlfriend burned her own business to the ground. Even if Justin's team amplified some stuff, I don't even care at this point. I don't care anyway, because that shit's regular PR that happens every single day. You're amplifying Blake's own words, her tone-deaf words. She needs to take responsibility for what she did. Jeez. Should Kim Kardashian ruin the dress? Yeah, that's exactly what she did. It's exactly what she did. Yeah. Totally ruined that dress. Oh my goodness. I mean, Blake's beautiful. Don't get me wrong. I do think she's beautiful. I love some of her Met Gala dresses. That dress that like flipped it and inside out and turned like turquoise. Oh my God. Are you kidding me? I would go grocery shopping in that dress. I don't really wear dresses, and I would go grocery shopping in that. Beautiful. But it was so tone deaf. All right. See, now I went on a rant and I don't even know where I am anymore. So now she's saying like, whatever, we'll just have like a mini trial before the real trial. We'll figure it out because I'm Blake and whatever I say goes. Have you seen the docket? I say jump. Lyman says how high. So let's have like a mini trial. Moreover, California president confirms that judge may award punitive damages under California Civil Code Section 3492. Indeed, that authority should apply with greater force, whereas here the malicious, oppressive, or fraudulent conduct is a Wayfair party's litigation conduct. Oh, for the love. Guys, I might, someone send the Baileys for my coffee. Are you kidding me? Are you such privileged thinking? ADHD, am I right? Yeah. A lot of ADHDers hang out on the channel, neurospicy individuals, because I can't help the rants and the side quests. It's how my brain works. Can't. I tried to stop it in the past. Doesn't work. The Wayfair party should not be permitted to avoid the consequences of the retaliatory litigation tactics any longer. Are you kidding me? The court can and should rule on Miss Lively's motion at this juncture and set an evidentiary hearing to establish Miss Lively's attorney's fees and damages. So for those that are newer to the channel, I'm one of the people that was subpoenaed under the Google subpoena. In my letter to the judge, I called out how Blake Lively, and we all know that she does this, how she uses the court docket as a shield, allegedly. My opinion only. What do I know? Only 15 years of branding, marketing, and PR, but she uses the docket as a shield. So she'll post something and then run to the press with it. She is the worst one for sketchy, in my opinion, litigation conduct. She's the worst one for running to the press with headlines. She's so exhausting. But again, she thinks she can do whatever she wants. Section 47.1 does not infringe the Wayfair Party's constitutional rights. I don't know about that 'cause I'm not a lawyer, but we'll read it. The Wayfair Party suggestion, and you'll get my opinion as a non-lawyer. The Wayfair Party suggestion that it is somehow improper for this court to rule on Miss Lively's motion since California courts have yet to interpret Section 47.1 is incorrect. I still don't understand why a New York judge would rule on California, be the first one to, but whatever. This court is plainly empowered to interpret Section 47.1, where the Wayfair Party's own litigation conduct implicated it, and the court expressly allowed Miss Lively to renew her arguments thereunder. If the Wayfair parties did not want to face the consequences of California law, they should not have invoked it in the first place and on multiple occasions thereafter. Again, I don't know about that. Omar's going to be the one to check out for that. The Wayfair parties also assert that this court cannot rule on Miss Lively's motion because it presents issues of first impression, including constitutional concerns and conflicts. Specifically, they argue that Section 47.1 infringes upon their First Amendment right to bring unsuccessful claims under the Noor-Pennington Doctrine and California's litigation privilege. Both arguments fail. The Wayfair party's Noor-Pennington challenge, bare bones as it is, fails to raise free speech concerns. Okay, so they have a footnote here. The Wayfair parties mischaracterized the court's prior ruling, stating that the court denied relief under Section 47.1. In fact, the court did not reach the issue and expressly allow Miss Lively to renew those very arguments. A court in this district rejected a similar challenge, noting the Supreme Court's caution that the pre-standard is a doctrine of antitrust law, and that its holding is firmly grounded in the text of the Sherman Act in the context of antitrust liability. Further, a defamation claim is not itself a constitutional right. The elements and scope of the claim may be limited by common or statutory law, as discussed further below. Moreover, any risk that Section 47.1's treble damages provision would chill petitioning activity in the form of defamation suits is outweighed by the risk recognized by the California legislator. The retaliatory defamation suits would chill reports about SH. Finally, even Noor-Pennington applied to Section 47.1. The Wayfair party's case would fall under an extension of the sham exception. Blake knows all about shams. She knows all about shams, sham lawsuits, sham accusations. Blake, she knows all about them. So maybe we should listen to her when she talks about shams. It's a baseless abuse of a judicial process based on the patent deficiencies, and they're now dismissed claims. I just feel like, and what do I know again, but it feels like Blake just wants her cake and to eat it too. Now, Blake, be careful. I've had so much cake over the last 3 days that I literally have like stomach ulcers over it, but I had way too much cake. I woke up this morning, I was like, oh God, my stomach ulcers are back. So Blake, be careful. Having your cake and eating it too, very likely is going to cause stomach rot. Oh my goodness, MDR, thank you so much. Oh my goodness, that is so kind of you. For the animals, oh, that's so kind. That can get them a blanket from one of the goatees. Thank you. Thank you for your work. I do have empathy for both Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. A life without character is horrible. I'm with you on that, but they do need to be held accountable. Also, anyone interacting with them needs to be rock solid on Blake Lively. Ryan Reynolds' toxicity will drag them down. I agree. And I love what you say there. I was talking about this on X yesterday because I do in many ways have empathy for them. And I don't ever want to lose that. In fact, I think the day that I lose having some empathy for people like this, I don't want to talk on these cases anymore. I don't want to provide any commentary on it because I really feel like that separates people that are inherently good to people that are inherently bad. It's like, yeah, I have empathy for them. A life without character, without values, without integrity and morals, you end up devoid of meaning. And that's incredibly sad. And I agree. They also need to be held accountable 100%. Absolutely. I'm with you on that. Yes. Thank you so much for supporting the animals. That is literally a blanket for one of the goatees. And I really appreciate that. So they say numerous exceptions to the litigation privilege have been recognized based on reconcilable conflicts between the privilege and other co-equal state laws. Co-equal state laws, not sure what that is, such as perjury, false report of criminal offense, and discipline of attorneys who engage in solicitation. These exceptions have been all guided by a settled rule of statutory construction that particular provisions will prevail over general provisions. So based on this, Section 47.1 clearly reflects the California legislator's intent to carve out an exception to the litigation privilege to deter retaliatory defamation actions based on reports of SH and retaliation. Indeed, like each of the exceptions discussed in Action Apartment Section 47.1 is more specific than the litigation privilege and would be significantly or wholly inoperable if its enforcement were barred when in conflict with the privilege. This overlap therefore reinforces, not undermines, that Section 47.1 is an exemption of the privilege. It just makes me really nervous on you don't have to prove any kind of malicious intent. What does that say about this law? Like, can anyone file these then? And they don't have to prove any kind of malicious intent? I don't know. That's just what's kind of sitting, just to share what's sitting in the back of my brain over this. Nor is Section 47.1 an outlier. California courts have long carved out exceptions where the privilege would otherwise shield wrongful conduct. For example, as the Wayfair Party's own authority confirms, California recognizes an exception for malicious prosecution claims. This is because California's policy of encouraging free access to the court that underlies the absolute privilege applicable in defamation actions is outweighed by the policy of affording redress for individual wrongs. The same reasoning applies here. The legislator enacted Section 47.1 to protect victims and to remedy the financial and psychological costs of litigation. In any event, many of the public communications on which Ms. Lively's motion relies are not privileged at all, including, for example, Sarowitz and Freeman's out-of-court statements. For the litigation privilege to apply, communication must bear a functional connection to the litigation, i.e. the communication must function as a necessary, useful step in the litigation process. It must serve its purpose and cannot merely advance parallel interests, such as vindication of the court of public opinion. Accordingly, courts consistently hold that certain public statements, like those addressed in Ms. Lively's motion, fall outside the privilege. Finally, the Wayfair Party's assertion that a jury must determine malice under Section 47.1 fails, where the facts are undisputed as they are here, given Ms. Lively is undeniably the prevailing defendant in the failed defamation action. It's just so frustrating for me that that defamation case was just so frustrating to me that it's gone. I feel like it's legit. I'm with the Wayfair Parties that it's not just a matter of malicious intent, but this was all just constructed between in my opinion only, constructed between everyone on that side to take him down. In fact, I'm actually going to read you guys. We're going to have story time, guys. We're going to have story time. So make sure to hang around because I'm going to read you one of my favorite excerpts from a book. We should actually probably read this book in the membership. Maybe we'll read this book together. But anyway, thank you so much, Periwinkle. Happy birthday. Thank you for being you. Thank you for being you. Oh my goodness. I genuinely look forward to hanging out with this community every day. Genuinely look forward to the DMs and the messages and the tags on X. I feel incredibly blessed. As much as Blake has tried to throttle this account and been very successful at times, I feel incredibly blessed that the right people have found this space and found me. And I wake up every day grateful for each of you. The channel would not still exist without each of you because every time they throttle the channel, you guys share it even harder and you guys share the links and promote the channel even harder. So, I genuinely don't think the channel would be around without this incredible community because it would have worked. It probably would have worked the first time that they came for the account when I started talking about Nick Shapiro. She says, finally, the Wayfair Party's assertion that a jury must determine malice under Section 47.1 fails. Blake's like, whatever. I can do what I want. Where the facts are undisputed as they are here, given Miss Lively is undeniably the prevailing defendant in the failed defamation action, the applicability of a privilege is a question of law. Moreover, the Wayfair Parties identify no reason the court could not decide the issue sitting as a trier of fact. The Wayfair Parties extraterritorially argument is meritless. Next, the Wayfair parties argue that the court should not apply. Like, I don't feel like there's a lot here. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Like, for 15 pages, I feel like we're saying a whole lot of nothing, but maybe it's just me. It just feels like we're repeating the same thing. Like, Blake can say whatever she wants and do whatever she wants. Next, the Wayfair parties argue that the court should not apply Section 47.1 or Section 3294 against them because Miss Lively is a resident of New York and the underlying conduct occurred in New York. This argument fails on multiple fronts. None of the cases cited by Wayfair parties address application of a state's law that the party opposing application itself invoked. Rather, their authority involves cases in which a defendant is sued in California and argues against extraterritorial application of a California statute to out-of-state parties or for conduct that occurred outside California. Here, the Wayfair parties intentionally brought suit in New York under California law for their own benefit and now argue that California law should not apply to them in the same litigation. This position is absurd and must be rejected. See, I don't know. Does it work because it's two separate lawsuits? I genuinely don't know the answer to that. Yeah, it just feels like it's just like pounding on the table. I agree with you. To me, it feels like two completely different lawsuits. So I don't understand how another lawsuit would be relevant. The Ninth Circuit has squarely rejected the Wayfair party's position on choice of law, holding that a California statute could apply to out-of-state parties where the parties agreed to apply California law. The Ninth Circuit explained, if a state law does not have limitations on its geographical scope, courts will apply it to contract governed by the state's law, even if parts of the contract are performed outside the state. The Wayfair parties do not identify any geographic limitations in the language of Section 47.1 or Section 3294. Thus, the parties' agreement to apply California law controls. Even if the presumption against extraterritoriality did apply here, it does not. The court should still apply Section 47.1 because the conduct relevant to Ms. Lively's motion has a sufficient nexus to California. The Wayfair parties principally argue that there is no such connection because the film was not shot in California. Ms. Lively is not a California resident. This misses the mark. The relevant conduct here is the Wayfair parties' retaliatory litigation based on statements contained within Ms. Lively's complaint to the California agency, not the SH and smear campaign allegations underlying Ms. Lively's affirmative claims. And to the extent the Wayfair parties concede that the filing and dismissal of their claims is relevant, those claims are clearly tied to California. It is undisputed that Wayfair Studios LLC is a California-based company which retained California-based attorneys to file a defamation action under California-based law in principal part on allegations made in Ms. Lively's CRD complaint. The sham CRD complaint, Blakey. The sham CRD complaint that was based on the sham car driving van. Don't want to say the whole word because you'll take down my video again. That sham, the sham CRD, my opinion, that was just used for litigation privilege when you wrote the Inside a Hollywood Smear Campaign article with the New York Times. That one. Okay. Gotcha. The relevant conduct, therefore, did not take place wholly outside California, and therefore Section 47.1 and Section 3294 should apply. Finally, strong public policy considerations weigh in favor of applying Section 47.1. The California legislature enacted Section 47.1 to protect victims of SA, SH, and discrimination, and to ensure that perpetrators cannot misuse litigation as a tool of intimidation and retaliation. Well, I obviously have issues with 47.1 then, if the way it's going to be used is to shield someone where they don't even have to prove malicious intent, where they just have to say it happened and they're protected. I mean, I agree. I worked in the field as a counselor. I worked at women's shelters and group homes and with young women that were just getting out of jail. I've worked in the field in the past. I agree there has to be some protection for victims, but unfortunately, there's also people that weaponize protections for their own gain. So I don't know. Be a shame if the first time this is ruled on is because of Blake Lively throwing a temper tantrum. Allowing the Wayfair parties to invoke California law as the basis of their affirmative claims against Miss Lively in New York while simultaneously disclaiming its protections for Miss Lively would subvert that legislative purpose and strip Section 47.1 of its intended force. As the Second Circuit has cautioned, courts should not permit litigants to have it both ways, invoking the benefits of a legal regime while avoiding its limitations. Factual findings as to Miss Lively's affirmative claims have no bearing on whether Section 47.1 applies. So she doesn't even need evidence now? So she doesn't need to prove malicious intent and she doesn't need evidence? Am I understanding this correctly? You guys gotta help me out if I am missing this. What? The waiver parties further assert that the court cannot rule on Miss Lively's motion until a trier of fact determines that Miss Lively acted without malice in communicating about the wayfair parties' SH and retaliation, and that Miss Lively had a reasonable basis to report her concerns about the workplace. Miss Lively is unquestionably the prevailing defendant in the failed defamation claim. The court's dismissal order, which holds that Reynolds, so pissed. I used to like Ryan. Which holds that Reynolds, Sloan, and the New York Times did not act with malice, including because Miss Lively gave them no reason to doubt her version of events. It's like, trust me, bro. Trust me, bro. I agree with you. 47.1, in my opinion, should stay in California for people who are born there and live there. No one outside California should be able to use 47.1. I agree with you. And no proof, no case. I'm with you on that. More PR lawyering from unethical Isra. The Lively team has engaged in collusion, conspiracy, and malice, in my opinion. I'm with you on that. My opinion only as well, of course. To insist Miss Lively reprove these facts. What? Wait, what? What facts did you prove, Blake? What facts did you prove? I'm still waiting for the facts because I would love to see the facts. To insist Miss Lively reprove these facts at trial should cut Section 47 off at the knees. The California legislator made clear that Section 47.1 remedies must be made available at the earliest stage to prevent protracted litigation. Oh, geez. No. Why is a call coming through? No one calls me. Oh my gosh, don't call me. I never answer phone calls. So California legislator made clear that Section 47.1 remedies must be made available at the earliest stage to prevent protracted litigation that would re-victimize complainants. Forcing Miss Lively to endure a jury trial to establish that is already plain from this court's own rulings would run contrary to the statute. Guys, I'm going to double down. I think this line here, I think she's going to try and get out of the jury trial. I don't know if it'll be successful. It's Nick saying, it's Nick Shapiro saying happy birthday. That's funny. Your birthday and everyone that's ever had you on a phone list remembers you and calls you to be like, do you need something like a car? Do you need something? Nor do the Wayfair parties' attempts to muddy the water by claiming that Miss Lively's Section 47.1 motion presents the same factual issues as her affirmative claims withstand scrutiny. Whether Miss Lively acted without malice to make her complaints is not a necessary element of her affirmative claims. Miss Lively does not have to prove that she made a complaint at all to prevail in her SH claims. As for retaliation, Miss Lively only must prove that she engaged in a protected activity, that she opposed unlawful harassment. Wayfair parties contend that Miss Lively must first prove her entire retaliation claim, imposed an unwarranted burden on Miss Lively, especially where the Wayfair parties have already admitted they believe Miss Lively made her complaints in good faith. See docket number 50-1, page 155, referencing a text message exchange between Mr. Baldoni and Miss Nathan, in which both agree that Miss Lively genuinely believes she's right. That's not what they're talking about. Oh my God. That can't be a good faith. That is not what they're talking about. Okay, let me read it again first. Sorry. So she references a text message exchange between Mr. Baldoni and Miss Nathan, in which both agree that Miss Lively genuinely believes she's right and that all of this is unjust. That's not what they're talking about. She's so delulu. She believes she's right. Like she's out to lunch so she can make these asinine claims and she'll back them up. That's what they mean, Blake. Oh my God. And it's unjust what they're doing to Justin and Wayfair. Oh. It's also unjust what her lawyers continue to back her with. Everyone's taking her to the cleaners. That's unjust too. Someone's got to just tell her, girl, wash your face. Take a seat. Take a saying from Rachel Hollis. Girl, wash your face. What? That's wild. There's no way that's done in good faith. There's no way lawyers at the top of their game genuinely believe that's what they meant. There's no way. And this court has already recognized the strength of the evidence in favor of a smear campaign. Ms. Lively is entitled to actual treble and punitive damages. Finally, the Wayfair party's contention that the court cannot award treble damages because Ms. Lively has not yet established her actual damages fails. Indeed, Ms. Lively seeks a schedule for the submission of damages evidence, which the court may then treble under Section 47.1. Further, contrary to the Wayfair party's position, California courts hold that the judge or jury, as the case may be, has the authority to decide whether and what amount of punitive damages should be awarded. The court is therefore fully empowered to determine the application of punitive damages at this juncture. If the court concludes that further evidence is warranted, Ms. Lively seeks a brief evidentiary hearing on these discrete issues, which should be held separate from the trial of Ms. Lively's affirmative claims to avoid confusing the issues or the jury, and to provide Ms. Lively with the prompt relief the California legislature intends. I don't know, guys. I genuinely think she's trying to set it up where she's just going to drop the case. But something I was thinking of. So where's the other book? Oh, has anyone ever read Courage is Calling? Because I got to give context to this first. So Courage is Calling, everything by Ryan Holiday is one, like, he's incredible. Now, you would think he's like a philosopher, right? Ryan Holiday started out as a PR guy, believe it or not. Ryan Holiday started out in PR and was so tired of the industry and how fraudulent the industry is. He said, like, basically you're paid to contort the truth and to lie, which is essentially what PR is. That's why I don't want to be involved in that world anymore. I like to teach it in my courses, but I don't want to be involved in it. But he's like the Daily Stoic, right? So the Stoic Virtue series is what he's created. And you would think that Ryan's like spent his life in spirituality. No, he hasn't, because he's also written books exposing PR and what PR does. And I was revisiting one of his books, and this reminds me so much of what happens more than you realize. And I just want to, I want to read this part to you guys. It's so funny. This part I also want to read to you guys. He says, I thought this book would get me out of the marketing game, but instead it led to more consulting and advising that I could possibly know what to do with. That's what happened to me. Like, I started to expose PR and marketing on the channel, and I'm like, I want to get out of it. And everyone's like, how much can I pay you to do it for me? I'm like, no, I don't want to do this anymore. Get away from me. And something else he says, because, you know, when I call certain things out, it's not because I want to be right that people like Blake and Ryan are going to be fine. And he says, there's nothing fun about being right if what you're right about is the triumph or the temporary triumph of the inevitably bad. And I wanted to share that as well, because I think, I know I get a lot of pushback sometimes of like, don't say that Ryan's going to be fine, or don't say this, or, stop doing the PR for them or whatever. Like, there's nothing fun about being right about stuff like that. There's, it's not like I stay up at night, I'm like, oh yes, I'm so excited to ruin everyone's day to say this thing about PR. But I've always promised I would be honest on what goes into it. Anyway, I want to tell you or share a PR campaign he ran for a movie. And it reminds me in many ways what Blake did with It Ends With Us. And I think it just got carried away. I'm not saying this is what she did. I am sharing a campaign he ran. And let me know if this sounds like anything, because when you look back at the It Ends With Us, Blake and Ryan were like seeding trouble all along, right? Like, they didn't have him on the red carpet. They mass unfollowed him. All these little seeds all along that were planted, I think they were intentional from the beginning. So I'm going to read you what he said he did. He's sharing a PR campaign that was like sketchy. He admits things that he did that weren't on the up and up. That's why he left the industry. But just let me know what you think. So it says, here. He said, "This is how I found myself at 2 a.m. one morning at a deserted intersection in Los Angeles, dressed in all black. In my hand, I had tape and some obscene stickers made of Kinko's earlier in the afternoon. What was I doing here? I was here to deface billboards. This is a PR strategist and a marketing strategist. Specifically, billboards I had designed and paid for. Let me know if this reminds you of anything to do with It Ends With Us. Not that I expect to do anything like this, but there I was doing it. My then girlfriend and future wife, coaxed into being my accomplice, was behind the wheel of the getaway car. After I finished, we circled the block and I took photos of my work from the passenger window as if I had spotted it from the road. Across, and this is how it's done. Across the billboard was now a 2-foot-long sticker that implied that the movie's creator, my client Tucker Max, deserved to have his certain appendage caught in a trap with sharp metal hooks or something like that. As soon as I got home, I dashed off 2 emails. So the PR campaign was to create the billboards, to deface the billboards, to then start the campaign of sending this out under fake names to platforms. All right. This is a shit that goes on in Hollywood, guys. I keep trying to say it from my own experience. And I'm like, I feel like bringing his story into will just show how shady this is. That's why I say don't trust no headline. You see shit running about any celebrity, there's a reason it's running. And again, it doesn't feel good to be right about that. So just keep that in mind. So he gets home. He's a PR guy for his client. They pay to have billboards set up. They then pay, he himself defaces them, runs home, sends 2 emails to 2 major blogs under the fake name Evan Meyer. I wrote, I saw these on my way home last night. It was a 3rd and Crescent Heights, I think. Good to know Los Angeles hates Tucker Max too. And attach the photos. Tucker Max is his client. We'll get to why they did this. It was all intentional. One blog wrote back, "You're not messing with me, are you?" No, I said, "Trust me, I'm lying." That's the whole thing about PR. Trust me, I'm lying. The vandalized billboards and the coverage that my photos received were just a small part of the deliberate, provocative campaign. I call them chaos campaigns. So we've talked about them on the channel in the past. Some people call them provocative. Have you noticed I like to use a little bit more fancy words, a little bit more outlaw brand archetype type words. Chaos campaign, provocative campaign that he did for the movie. I hope they serve beer in hell. Tucker, the client, had asked me to create some controversy around the movie, which was based on his best-selling book. And I did, somewhat effortlessly, it turns out. It was one of many campaigns I had done in my career, and by no means an unusual one. This is how it's done, guys. When I tell you, when you see trending headlines under a celebrity, even if it's not Tree Payne that dropped it, even if it's not Leslie Sloan that dropped it, they write through in fake names. That's where you get the sources, right? Oh, a source says. Yeah, it's a fake ass name that they use to drop this story. This happens every day. It's the whole point of it. So anyway, this is the campaign they were running. And he says it illustrates a part of the media system that's hidden from your view, how the news is created and driven by marketers and that no one does anything to stop it. So in under 2 weeks, and with no budget, thousands of college students protested the movie on their campuses nationwide. Angry citizens vandalized our billboards in multiple neighborhoods. FoxNews.com ran a front page story about the backlash. Page 6 of the New York Post made their first of many mentions of Tucker, and the Chicago Transit Authority banned and stripped the movie's advertisements from the buses. To cap it all off, 2 different editorials railing against the film ran in the Washington Post and Chicago Tribune the week it was released. This was all intentional as part of the PR for the film. The outrage about Tucker was great enough that a few years later it was written into the television show Portlandia. I guess it's safe to say, or safe to admit now, that the entire firestorm was fake. This is PR, guys. And that's why I think every step Blake made with It Ends With Us was intentional to create almost like a chaos campaign from the beginning. We've talked about that on the channel. So Ryan continues, I designed the advertisements, which I bought and placed around the country, and then promptly called and left anonymous complaints about them and leaked copies of my complaints to blogs for support. I alerted college LGBT and women's rights groups to screenings in their area and baited them to protest our offensive movie at the theaters, knowing that the nightly news would cover it. So that's called working up the ladder. So you work up the ladder by baiting, say, a protest on a blog, right? They cover it and then the news picks it up. So that's working up the ladder. Where else does he say? So he knew the nightly news would pick it up. The PR guy himself started a boycott group on Facebook for the movie of his client. I orchestrated fake tweets and posted fake comments to articles online. I even won a contest for being the first one to send in a picture of a defaced ad in Chicago because he defaced it himself. I manufactured preposterous stories about Tucker's behavior on and off the movie set and reported them to gossip websites, which gleefully repeated them. Does that sound allegedly, maybe, like the whole New York Times thing? I'm going to say that again. This is what happens in Hollywood PR. I manufactured preposterous stories about Tucker's behavior. Tucker was his client. It was his client. About his behavior on and off the movie set and reported them to gossip websites, which gleefully repeated them. Oh, wait till you see. It did work. It did work. We're getting to what the whole point of this was. One, that outrage marketing gets people to go see it, right? Puts it more in the news. He says, I paid for anti-women ads on feminist websites and anti-religion ads on Christian websites, knowing each one would write about it. Sometimes I just photoshopped ads on screenshots of websites and got coverage for controversial ads that never actually ran. The loop became final when, here we go. This was the whole point of the whole campaign. The loop became final when, for the first time in history, I put out a press release to answer my own manufactured criticism about my client. Tucker Max responds to a CTA decision. Blow me, the headline read. Hello, shitstorm of press. Hello, #1 on the New York Times bestseller list. Pulled this off with no connections, no money, and no footprint or footsteps to follow. So the whole point was, one, to create a shitstorm for his client with press where they were planting the problems. Is this Ryan's alter ego? No, Ryan's a cool guy. Ryan's a really, or do you mean like Tucker Max? Maybe. But Ryan's a cool guy. Ryan's literally like this guy now. There he's like, I swear, all us PR people eventually find spirituality. That's how I found Human Design and Gene Keys and shit. I was like, I can't deal with this cesspool. I can't deal with it. So we all turned spiritual in the end. Any of us have a moral compass. But that was the whole point, was to orchestrate a firestorm to get front page news. So you start at the bottom. So they were starting at the blogs, the feminist groups, et cetera, these tiny blogs to work up the ladder. They orchestrated the whole thing. They got #1 on the New York Times bestseller list for the book. And they got the headline they wanted, which was blow me. So the author wanted to be able to say, like, screw you. I don't care about your backlash. So I share that because I think sometimes to hear it, like, I know you guys trust me, but I think sometimes to hear it from me, you're like, okay, whatever, Ashley, I get it. You know, you're just too nice to Blake and Ryan, or you're too nice to this or that. And it's like, this is the shit that goes on. So I thought sharing someone else's story would help to paint what goes on for these movies and the outrage that is strategically built in with a specific angle. And so I'm not going to lie, when I look back, and again, we've talked about this on the channel in the past, the more I look back at everything, I genuinely believe that, like, that moment, right? So when we look at Ryan's moment that they were going for, it was that, like, blow me headline that they wanted. Watch, now I'm going to get flagged for that. I genuinely think Blake's moment that all of this was working up to was the New York Times headline inside a Hollywood smear campaign and the resulting, like, face of the Me Too and 47.1. I think it was all a branding move. My opinion only. I think it was all a branding move. So all of this, and we think about that PR person. So Ryan had orchestrated, like Ryan Holiday had orchestrated bad behavior and planted stories about bad behavior of this guy that never even existed. Bad behavior never existed. So if we look back at this chaos campaign that I've said they have been running, it makes sense that the goal, especially based on what we're seeing in this filing that I just went over, where I said, I think I think she wants to get paid out and to drop the case. I don't think she actually wants to go to trial. But if that was the goal all along, was to get the New York Times article, a feature on that, and then to be the face of Me Too for 47.1 from a branding perspective, I don't know. I don't think it's too far out of, thanks, Leo. Allegedly, my opinion only for entertainment purposes only. We're just having fun here. We're just chatting. Bunch of friends just chatting with our coffee. Or maybe you're somewhere where you're having a glass of wine. But yes, that's what happens. And so again, like it's never fun, right? To call out some of these moves. And I get pushback sometimes about it. But it's like, when you know the shit that goes on, when you know the shady things that go on. Well, Leslie Sloan as another example. So people have talked about Leslie Sloan and how she plants bad stories about her clients. That's just a PR thing. Like, it's not just a Leslie Sloan thing. Or was it Stephanie Jones? One or the other. I don't know. Probably both of them. But this whole thing of like, well, they plant bad stories to clean it up. I think the difference with them is they were planting stories their clients didn't ask them to plant. I think the difference over there is the clients weren't asking those stories to be planted, but planting stories about your client to create kind of a shitstorm that you then clean up is more common than you would think. Stephanie Jones, thank you so much. Stephanie Jones. Yeah, comms crew opinion only. Exactly. It's just the comms crew hanging out. What do we know? What do we know? Yeah, such a good chat. I'm so glad you guys have fun in the chat. So anyway, I think that's what her end move is. She can't drop the case now. So, I mean, and again, I understand she needs the judge and Justin to approve that. I don't think the judge is going to tell her too bad, so sad. I will drop dead. Literally, if she moves to drop this case and the judge is like, too bad, so sad, you're going to trial, I will drop dead. You will never see me again. I just find it so hard to believe that the one time he puts his foot down with her, it's forcing her to go to trial. And Justin's team would have to weigh, honestly, because I'm telling you right now, she's ready with the PR headlines of, I'm a victim, look, just ruling in my favor, and you're forcing me to go to trial, and I'm being re-victimized. She said that literally in the filing she just made. And they might say, too bad, we have more to lose if we don't go to trial than if you run with these bad headlines. And they might make that executive decision between the PR team and the legal team. But I wouldn't say it's a given that everyone forces her to go to trial. I don't think so. Thank you so much, Jane. Happy birthday, sweet lady. Oh, you guys are so sweet. Please keep covering this up because they are evil. Yeah. I'm going to keep trying. I did the short video yesterday, which started to gain a little bit more traction. It was a little bit safer. I did a video last night on Charlie Kirk. That was a little bit safer. It's not, that subject's still buried, 100% still buried for me. But I'm going to keep trying to go. I just might not be able to talk about a certain van lawsuit because I can't, it's just, can't get them to take down my channel. And they will. You can get a channel struck so much that it just gets removed. Thank you so much, Alexis, for the super sticker. You guys are so kind. You guys are so kind. Let me just go back up. The scam depot is happening today, right? I think so. I think today. I think today's the day. Did the video had technical problems, was deleted on purpose? That one I took down on my own. That's actually a good point though, Lyra, because that's where we started to have a lot of issues on the account again. I started to have a lot of issues that day. And I think that was actually the day where my account oddly, I was in the back end of YouTube and it oddly like froze and refreshed, but I didn't refresh it myself. I think that's actually the day that all started. But YouTube had removed my sham video. I cleaned up my account. I agreed to go through the process of cleaning up my account and put it back up. But I wanted to share it. Let me try to edit it and put it back up. Edit some things and we'll see what happens. But I'll edit it today and I'll throw it back up this afternoon. And we'll see what happens. But the van one is still there. All right, let's see what else is going on the docket. But yeah, so I just wanted to share that because That's the PR game is sketchy, guys. And it's, I always joke, I still have like a cognitive dissonance. I can't in my head wrap around that the same Ryan Holiday writes media manipulation exposés and the stoic virtues because it's so different. But he had like a come to Jesus moment where he was kind of where I've been the last year, where he said, and this is where I've been, right? Like I thought by doing good in the industry, I would change the industry. But you don't at the end of the day because the powers that be don't want to change, which is really unfortunate. And so then, you find spirituality. I found human design. He found stoicism. But yes, the PR industry it's gross. Even talking about it sometimes I need a shower right after because it's just brutal. All right, let's see what else went up on the docket yesterday. What's this? Declaration of Teresa Troopsome in opposition. Re 806 letter motion to compel Wayfair Studios. Let's see what this is. Declaration of Teresa Troopson in support of the Wayfair Party's opposition to plaintiff Blake Lively's motion to compel. So a partner at Linear Friedman on so it's just talking about all the steps they took. On September 9th, 2025, plaintiff Blake Lively requested that the parties meet and confer about the Wayfair Party's categorical privilege log. Oh, that's right. They're arguing about the privilege log again. It's not super interesting. But Blake's slamming her feet again and throwing a temper tantrum. Oh, there's some orders. So there's a sealed document that went up. Order, the court has reviewed the ex parte documents produced by non-parties Brianna Butler, Coslow, and Catherine Case. See docket number 724. And the Wayfair and Wallace parties' corresponding privilege logs produced pursuant to the court's September 14th order, docket number 776, by separate order, which is being filed on the docket with court access only. Oh, okay, so that's the one with court access only, the sealed document. By separate order, which is being filed on the docket with court access only and mailed and emailed to counsel for Coslow in case the court is directing these portions of the documents that may be withheld on grounds of attorney-client privilege. All other materials must be produced by October 6th. Okay. So this looks like there's certain aspects that the judge is reaching out specifically to them to look at. Maybe it might still be privileged, but otherwise, other than it looks like those specific documents that Lyman, what do I know though? But this is how I'm understanding it. Other than those specific documents that he's mailed and emailed to them, all other materials must be produced by October 6th. So they've been fighting over the privilege logs. What's this? Joint stipulation proposed order regarding the deposition of Jed Wallace. This just dropped. I don't know if I want to read 4 pages. Let's see what it says. So it's stipulated and agreed by and among the Jones parties and Wallace defendants through their undersigned counsel that the Jones parties may take the deposition of Jed Wallace on October 10th, not to exceed 4 hours at the offices of counsel for the Wallace defendants. I have a feeling I really still believe that Jones is trying to get to Jed, and maybe that's one of the names that came up. Because remember, under the one fight on the Jones and Abel docket, there was stuff from Catherine Case that was hidden by attorney's eyes only. That was de-designated. And now all of a sudden there's, this popping up that they've agreed to take the deposition of Jed on October 10th. That'll be interesting. And then order an amended categorical privilege log shall be served by October 6th. The court reserves judgment on Lively's motion pending service of an amended categorical privilege log and the production of those messages that after further review can be produced without waiving privilege. It'll be interesting to see what happens there, because Catherine Case, I think she's going to be the pin in a lot of this, especially for Stephanie Jones. Because if we go back to everything that I've covered, because I've covered hasn't been motion or movement recently, but I've covered the Rebel Wilson, Amanda Ghost case where Jed and Melissa come up covered the Stephanie Jones, Jen Abel case, this case. It looks like, based on text messages, that Katie Case, or Catherine Case, is the one that does the copywriting for the alleged smear campaign websites. So from what I understand is, in Catherine Katie Case's deposition, they were trying to get to Melissa Nathan and Jed Wallace. Now, they did talk about in the unredacted pieces how she had talked about her boss told her to write the copywriting, which would have been Melissa Nathan. I guess we'll see if Jed's name came up too in that. It'll be interesting to see. But let's flip over quick before I let you go, see what's going on for what Little Girl Attorney and Not Actually Golden are saying. All right, let's share this. Guessing this is probably the last one. Is it not going to let me play it? Oh,
I just finished reading the reply brief that Lively filed in the 47.1 motion, and I'm just like, what? You know when you read something and you're like, I don't think I was paying attention. Let me go back and read it. And you read it again, you're like, I didn't understand what I was reading. So you read it again. I feel like that's how this reply brief went for me. It was like a bunch of legal sentences smushed together. Like it didn't have coherence. There was something kind of off about it. What they try to do here is they take Wayfair's arguments and try to break them apart in some way. But I don't actually think they did a very effective job at that. The first argument about the whether or not constitutional rights are being affected is kind of like a no. Like you court, you can decide on this if you want to. Those cases that they refer to, it doesn't actually say what they wanted to say. So, there might be an opportunity for you to do this if you really wanted to. The first argument is just not clear. Next, they address the extraterritoriality argument. And they're like, it doesn't matter that she's not a resident of California because Wayfair chose to file their lawsuit under California law. So Lively should get protection because Wayfair is in California and they acted under California law. They make this public policy argument that, the California legislature enacted 47.1 to protect victims of ESH, SA, and discrimination and ensure that perpetrators don't misuse litigation. Okay, but they don't talk about the legislature's intent of how far this law is intended to reach. So anytime anyone in the United States makes some kind of statement and then gets sued for defamation from a California person, does this law apply? They don't really go into that legislative history of what was the real intent behind the law, who was it intended to protect, and kind of gloss over the presumption that the laws that are in place in California are intended to protect the residents of California. They're viewing the law as a sort of a punishing thing. Like, this is how we punish a California resident who's done wrong. Instead of, this law is meant to protect, and this is how it's intended to protect. And it might seem nuanced, but it's important. What was the legislature's intent? This was the time to say it. You're asking the court to interpret legislation. So this was the time to show how to interpret it. Next, what I can only interpret as just discombobulating people is this discussion about the malice piece. The malice piece is in the statute. It says that you don't get a privilege when you say something with malice. Theretofore, you have to say it without malice. So it has to be proven that it was said without malice. So I don't know why they go on this discussion about how her claims, the defamation claims didn't say anything about malice, because that's not really what the inquiry is about. The inquiry is about whether Lively made these claims about SH, discrimination, etc. If she made those claims without malice. Because if she did it with malice, there's no privilege, and 47.1 goes away. And I think they
Okay, I'm just going to pause really quick here. I'm glad we're all not going crazy. I feel like you don't necessarily need to be a lawyer to have called some of this stuff. So I'm really happy that she is confirming that we are not going crazy with seeing these issues.
recognize the flaw in this, because they try to refer to something that was put in the complaint about how, I guess, Baldoni and Nathan, there was a text exchange where somebody said they think that Lively genuinely believes that she's right. They like quoted that. So they're quoting, something as evidence to support the fact that the statements were not made with malice. But you're begging an evidentiary hearing. You're asking for the judge to do an evidentiary hearing, which is exactly what the Wayfair party said. And you're not addressing. They did not address why the court should not engage in an evidentiary hearing. They do want an evidentiary hearing with respect to treble damages, though. So, yeah. They don't address how this could lead to inconsistent rulings. They don't address why it needs to be done now, other than to say, you judge can do it if you want to. You should, because you should. I mean, it just doesn't say why it needs to be decided now. And this was the time for them to say that. This was the time for them to tell the judge why it needed to be decided now, as opposed to what he's likely to do, which is kick the can and do it after trial.
It's just absolutely ridiculous. I'm glad it's not just us thinking that things are way uncalled for and out of line. Suzette, thank you so much for the support. Happy birthday, Ashley. I wrecked my mug in love. Oh, I'm so glad. Thank you for being here. Honestly, like I keep saying all the time, I couldn't do this without you guys. Best community ever. You guys always help me out when Blake tries and takes my page down or my YouTube down. You guys are incredible. Hello, Khaleesi. Very happy birthday to Ashley, member for 1 month. Oh my goodness. I'm so honored to have you in the members only section. We're going to have to read that book as like a little bit of a book club because it's crazy if you guys want to go down that rabbit hole. Okay, let's pull up Not Actually Golden now and see what she has to say about this. I'm assuming it's going to be the last one, but let's see.
Good morning. Yesterday was an asshole. And so
I will say, I've tried to find videos of Not Actually Goldens in the past, and because she doesn't put like any kind of caption on it or any kind of blurb or something, the other day I spent like 45 minutes trying to find a video, but I'm sure this is it, hopefully.
I needed to eat pasta,
Fair enough.
play with my dog, chicken, and I think for a lot of reasons, I just think that's absolutely spot on and perfect. And my Spanish is terrible, but that's okay because I'll have my husband sitting there translating for me. And
let's try to skip ahead.
And I'm going to give you my opinion about it. But before I do that, I just kind of want to put a stake in the ground about something. And I think we're probably all aware of it, but I don't know that any of us are saying it out loud. And that is that because we have not had access to the actual parties in this case, like Lively's not talking and Baldoni's not talking, which is wise of them, right? Not to talk publicly about this. Hold on. The chicken nugget wanted to be held. The lawyers have become like the main characters for us, right? And so we are doing a lot of like judging of what they do and then imputing it to their clients, which is not necessarily unfair, right? Like you can judge people by the people that they hire. But like from a lawyer's standpoint, to me, they can be separated, right? Like I can completely disagree with the tactics that a lawyer uses and still believe that that lawyer's client their case has merit, right? Like I have had people working on a team that I was on for my client that I very much wanted to win, who were acting in a way that I hated and thought was ethically inappropriate, right? You have to sometimes separate the people from the cause of action. So I'm not telling anybody how to feel. I'm just saying that I think we all need to sort of, myself included, we all need to sort of have a moment of self-awareness that we are taking what the lawyers do and attributing that to their clients and how strong their case might be. And while that's probably fair to a point, because we know so little of the facts, that's not the end of the story. And we just need to be thoughtful and aware of that. Okay. And all of a sudden, he's very needy. So 2 things were filed. So the response to the 47.1 motion, BB Well actually did a great job of talking about the jurisdictional thing, which we're not putting you guys off. It's really confusing and it takes months and months and months to learn. But I think the strongest argument that Lively has for in favor of the application of the law in terms of like applying a California law to the conduct is that the parties did agree generally that California law would apply to the state law claims in the lawsuit. There's federal law claims to which federal law applies, and then there were state law claims. And they all agreed when there's state law claims, the state will be California.
Okay, she might answer this, but like, why is it in New York then? I'm still so confused on all of this. It doesn't make sense. Kenny, I didn't know I could do this. Happy birthday. Thank you. It's so amazing to have you as a member of the channel. Thank you so much for the support. And Allie, welcome as a new member. We hang out on Saturdays, so make sure to keep an eye open for that. We do a Saturday stream.
So it's a fair point to say, well, Wayfair can't now be pissed off that they've applied the law of California. I don't think that's the end of the question. I think that's a fair point. I think it's a good point. But I still don't think that's enough for the judge to say, I'm going to make a finding before we've even gotten to summary judgment in the case that Wayfair has done sanctionable behavior simply by filing its own claims. That is a reach. It's always been a reach. You're not just asking the judge like enter into, hey, make this finding. It's really not that big of a deal. It just piggybacks on the finding you've already made. Asking the judge to rule in this way, to grant this, is to say that the judge is actively punishing Wayfair for bringing its own case. That by bringing it, they engaged in such terrible and inappropriate behavior that they should be sanctioned as if they are being sued separately for that behavior. And that is a very big thing for a judge to do. It is an even bigger thing for a judge to do on a law that's never been used before. So I still don't think that the judge is going to look at that and be like, here's what I really want to do. I also think it's wise to keep in mind that even though they're technically not related, the judge does have the motion for judgment on the pleadings sitting in his desk. And whether it's him or the clerks or whoever is keeping track of this case is noting, what if we grant sanctions in favor of Blake Lively for bringing her claims, right? And give her a win that she should be protected for bringing these claims. And then 2 weeks later, we enter an order saying those claims are not valid under the law.
Yeah, I mean, that's the question I have too. Probably what you guys have.
So I think I think it's too messy and too complicated for the judge to say okay to it. But I think the argument that Lively made about the extraterritorial jurisdiction is probably fair. I just don't think it's enough. On the other issue, which is the Wayfair's response to the motion to compel on all the signal messages.
Okay, we already read about that, so we know what the judge did there anyway. I just think it's such a reach for Blake. I see what Golden is saying, which is what we talked about previously of like Wayfair did bring it to California. Their case, I don't know. I still don't understand how that means Blake can run with this, but she's claiming that means she can run with it. with her case as well. Let me see if I can find really quick the video before I let you guys go of Justin, because he did do a mini little interview. Let's pull it up here. We'll end on a good note, a non-Blake Lively note. Let's watch this.
Actually, doing wonderful. Very great. Thank you. You're doing wonderful. Got a lot of love. Got a lot of love. You're holding up okay, man. Yeah. You seem to be taking the high road. Thank you. We appreciate it. Thank you all. We always try to do, man. All right. Always try to do. Listen, man. Thank you. Look, very much. Last question. Well, let me ask you this: the judge dismissed your countersuit. What's next for you? We're not allowed to discuss that right now, man. We can't discuss that for you. You all right? I'm good. Thank you, man. We're going to cut off this call. Can't talk about it. But hey, listen, but you're okay though, taking the high road here. Positive. Very positive. Very positive. Can't talk all right, stuff like that. All right. I'm just doing my job. Thank you. Justin, last question. Look, listen. Do you know anything about the guy who tried to serve Taylor Swift down south? Know nothing about it? All right, buddy. Thanks.
So it's hard to see in the captions, don't pick it up, but he says something like it's the craziest rumor. Thank you so much, Khaleesi. Happy birthday, burritos. Not just bathroom burritos, there's also birthday burritos. So he says like it's the craziest rumor or something along those lines. Now, we do see, if you pull up both under Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni, let me just pull it up quick. I'll show you guys the PR push around it. Justin Baldoni gives personal update amid Blake Lively legal drama. Justin Baldoni says he's doing wonderful amid Blake Lively legal drama. So the reality is probably called in, to be honest, which is a fair PR thing that happens all the time. And it's like a good, feel-good PR on the other side of that. You get him saying that he's doing well, taking the high road. He essentially addressed the Taylor Swift thing without actually having to come out and address it with an official press statement. He said it's the craziest rumor, as he's very laid back, getting on the bus. It was kind of his vibe. Everything that he's done in the PR has just been really relaxed. Him at the beach, celebrating milestones with his wife and his mom. So it matches his PR vibe. But then you're seeing you're seeing on the back end, this story's coming out about it. So Justin Baldoni says he's doing wonderful. He's grateful during Blake Lively drama. And because the headlines include both him and Blake Lively, this is also what's trending under Blake Lively's name. So that keyword hijacking of both his name and her name. So it's trending under both of their names. So yeah. I think it was a nice way to address a smart way to address the Taylor Swift rumors, because that's what essentially this was. They addressed the Taylor Swift rumors. It's like it's the craziest rumor, but it's done in just such a calm way, a relaxed way. And it's like that last minute thing, right? He's on the bus and it's just like that added in. I think it was really well done. Very, very, very well done. And then now you have the stories here. But at the end of the day, that's what that was for. It was to address the Taylor thing without outright addressing the Taylor thing in like a Variety article or something. Really well done. Very, very well done. And now they've got some narrative control back, because what we know, if you watch the channel, this is your prime real estate above the fold. Once you have to scroll down, once you have to like take clicks anywhere, and look what it's trending above. Justin Baldoni case, man serving Taylor Swift arrested. So this is what you're always looking for as well, is what are they trying to push down? Right? So I've had people sometimes say like, I think this is a PR move. And I'm like, well, no. And they go, well, no, I think it is. I'm like, one, it didn't gain traction on legacy media. It didn't gain traction on Google, but what was it pushing down? There was nothing pushed down. But what we can see here is it pushed down right there. You have to scroll down and see Justin Baldoni case, man serving Taylor Swift arrested. Looks like you do have one. Huffington Post is still also in the news, but pretty much above the fold, you're getting really good PR for him about being grateful. I think the word grateful is amazing to me. Grateful, perfect word. Why? because Blake and Ryan went after him for cafe gratitude. So using the word grateful, I think, was just so on brand for Justin. So on brand, but also just genuinely who he is. That's why I always say you are the brand. The more you can brand your business through who you genuinely, authentically are, the better, because then it's not performative. It doesn't feel performative because it's not. That's one of the issues Blake Lively has so much, is she's so performative, because I don't think she even knows who she is, that everything comes off just gross and yeah, just fake, forced. There's the word I was looking for, forced. But yeah, so we're going to just see this continue to dominate, I imagine, throughout the day, because these just came out 6 hours ago, 9 hours ago, 31 minutes ago. So it's just starting to gain traction, but you're always looking at what is this move pushing down? And you're getting Justin Baldoni, Blake Lively, both names are in all of the headlines, and it's pushing down this ridiculous story. And you might even see some stories start to run later today, where Justin Baldoni addresses Taylor Swift subpoena, right? Like you might start to see some, depends on their approach with it though. But yeah, I think it was very, very, very well done. Let me just see. It was a wink at all of us too. Probably, no doubt about that. That TMZ guy is so annoying with his high road. And I know we're not huge fans of TMZ, but it was likely staged, right? It's all PR, which is not, again, people jump down my throat and they're like, how dare you say Justin Baldoni does PR? How dare you say Taylor Swift does PR? And it's like, all right, well, you can live in Delulu land that they don't, but they do. You know, it's a good PR move. This was smart. Same thing that I've said in the past, where he's had people, I think just a couple of weeks before, he had people starting to speak out for him. I had said, if he has people speak out for him, he can avoid those abuser playbook headlines that he was getting when he spoke out for himself. So you saw people start to speak out for him. The doctor in the scene where Blake Lively was giving birth in the movie spoke out for him. Very smart. Leveraging milestones. Very smart PR. Yes, everyone does PR. Thank you. I say that, and people like, you'd be amazed how many messages or people unsubscribe because I said something was a PR move. I'm like, PR is not inherently bad. Yeah, like we understand that. I think some people don't understand that PR isn't inherently bad. It can be used for nefarious things, but PR is reputation management and narrative control. Do you think it was staged by Justin? Yes. Or did the airline sell the flight list? No. This was staged. It was PR. How do I know that? What do I always tell you guys? Look at what's happening on Google. I think 100% it was. Not that it's bad. I'm not saying that in a bad thing, but there's no way all these headlines and everything were just ready to run with it and roll with it. And the exact same type headlines referencing Grateful, the two names. Yeah, it was staged. Totally cool. There's nothing wrong with that. Exactly. It's how you get promoted. Good PR campaign to the... Exactly. It's how you get promoted. That's how you get your narrative out there. Everyone needs it. That's why I have your 90-day PR playbook. The amount of people that come to me and they're like, Ashley, should I take, it's like a course I created. Should I take that like I'm a newer brand? Everyone needs it. And I think sometimes we also complicate what it is, right? It's reputation management at the end of the day. That's all it is. Yes, I think PR people, yes, Andrea, I agree. I think PR is solely being associated with manipulation. It's not all manipulation or inherently bad. Exactly. And that's what we have to be careful of, right? Like, yes, we call out a lot of media manipulation on this channel, but PR itself isn't manipulation or inherently bad. You've got to get your story out there. This is him regaining control of the headlines. So if you're sitting around, for example, I'm not on Justin's team, so I'm not saying this was the conversation that was had, but if you're sitting around and looking for an on-brand, relaxed way to address the Taylor Swift rumors to gain back control and say that it's just a bullshit rumor, what better way than have a TMZ reporter waiting at the airport to casually interview him? Like, all their pap walks, right? But yes, that's the point. Good PR is going to feel organic. Exactly. It's going to feel authentic because it's going to be on brand. It's going to feel organic. And it is so just relaxed, where I really believe if he had just done like a hardcore variety article, you know, and Brian Friedman comes out with a statement calling all this bullshit and none of it happened, you best know, everyone knows that Blake will be waiting on the other side with something to say about that. So this way it's super chill and they get what they want. Remember what we were talking about even when I was reading that Ryan Holiday story of like the end, what was the end goal? The end goal was they wanted the headline to say, what, I can't remember exactly what he said, but he wanted the headline basically telling people to go pound salt or go pound salt, sand. That's what they were working towards, right? So it's always like, well, what's the end goal? One time I saw Laura Prepon at LAX. Cool. That's so funny. I don't think I would recognize any celebrities. My cat's PR team, maid, chef. Yeah, I think my dog Julia especially expects me to be her PR team for sure. Hello, Glow. It's so nice to see you. If you watch the JD trial, then you know how it works per Morgan Tremaine. Yeah. Well, that's another good point. He spoke out about it as well. Yep. And like what we were talking about with Ryan Holiday's story, guys, like the sand. Thank you. You guys got me. Pound salt. Who's pounding salt? I don't know. Apparently me. You know, a lot of people will say, well, it's not Tree Payne because, you know, she only goes to people. It's, you have fake sources, fake people, fake names. And I'm not like, I'm just saying, because Taylor's such a good example of like, but it's only Tree if she goes to people. No, that's when they want you to know that it's officially from Taylor, because they know that everyone's been trained that if Tree goes to people, it's without saying it, it came from Taylor's camp, but they don't always want it to seem like it's coming from your camp. I never recognize celebrities. I'm a dope. I would never in a million years recognize. They could be like having a talk with me in like a Starbucks. Not that I even go to Starbucks, but I would have no idea. It'd be like in the news that they were in town. I'd be like, holy shit, that was them. I wouldn't even know. I still want to move near you in Canada so I can see goats and horses all the time. It is pretty relaxing. I pound salts, pretzels, chips, peanuts, crackers. There you go. I do too. Hello. That's okay to be here silently. That's totally cool. Thank you for being here. Yeah. So I'd say 100% was set up, but it was smart. Blake tried this shit with like the donut store, but again, like, do you guys remember Donut Gate? We covered it on the channel. That's the kind of PR she tried. It's the same type, but it doesn't work. So it's forced and inauthentic. He's just so good and he's built his brand at just being him, right? Like even the word grateful, you bring it back. And that was the word that Blake and Ryan used against him for cafe gratitude. Yes, please, Laura. Thank you so much for sharing. We're running a fundraiser today for the farm animal sanctuary that we run on the channel, or we run on the channel. Well, everything from the channel goes to the farm animal sanctuary, but that we run on our property. So we're running a bit of a fundraiser to offset the damage that Blake's done to the channel. But yes, I think it was a great move. Those moves, they just work so well for him because it's just who he is. Oh, don't play. If I get that, don't, it's going to copyright strike me. I didn't know if it was going to automatically play. But yeah, I mean, I'm not a big fan of TMZ at all, but they're always willing to show up for something like that. Anyway, guys, I love that PR move. I think it was super smart of Justin. Address the rumors, address the Taylor Swift thing without making a big deal out of it. It's just crazy rumor, right? Like, holy shit, can you even believe this? That was kind of the vibe of it. Like, holy shit, it's wild. Great way to deal with it. Because, you know, we all know if Brian Friedman or someone made a statement to like Variety or TMZ, Blake would be all over that. She'd be crying to the judge. Lyman, they're doing it again. They're going to the press. It's exactly what she would do. On a completely superficial note, Justin looks so handsome. He does not look stressed. Yeah, like Ryan Reynolds. Ryan's aging very quickly through this. 100% he is. All right, my friends, almost 2 hours. Holy moly. I need to have lunch before my client calls this afternoon. So that's all I have for you guys today. But 2 hours, that's crazy. I can't believe we talked that long. Thank you for being here, guys. Thank you for supporting the animals, for coming together to support the channel when we continually get struck by Blake and Nick Shapiro and co. I really appreciate it. I genuinely couldn't do this without you guys, because every time they try to take the channel down, everyone just shares more, rallies around the channel more, and it backfires in their face. So thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you. You can head over to, let me see about getting it. We will have the Misfit Herd TV is not going right now. We ended the night stream, but we'll have a day stream that goes shortly. But if you want to see the goats that I showed you the pictures of, that is Misfit Herd TV, and that's currently on our rescue goat and sheep paddock. So the little guys you saw at the beginning of the stream, you're going to see them. They're massive now. They're like 150 pounds now. And we are working on also getting it over to the horses eventually as well. So we'll be able to alternate between the horses and the sheep. All right, my friends, it's going to be goat time shortly. Give us about 20 minutes to get that set up, and make sure to like, subscribe before you go, share the channel, even share the good we do here with the Farm Animal Sanctuary. It all helps, my friends. Thank you to the mods last minute for showing up. I love the Misfit Herd. I love seeing you over there. I wasn't sure if I was going to go live today. They jumped in on last minute to help out. So I appreciate you guys so much. And with that, my friends, I will see you in the next one. Bye, guys.